Alrighty, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to today's episode. Pretty good trading today. I had one single trade today in which I was in most of the day, and I ended up recovering all the losses from the past couple of days. If you saw the last two videos, you'll see that I had some significant losses, added up by like 5 or 6 different trades. Today, I pretty much recovered everything. As you can see right here, with the trade on QUBT, up $814. So it was a pretty good trade. I'll explain right now the execution, kind of my mindset behind the trade, why I entered it, how I entered it, how I exited, and all the good stuff. If you didn't watch the past two videos, I recommend you go ahead and do so, because I go in depth into those losses that I took and just kind of my mindset behind those trades as well, which I think is very important. There was some guy already on here commenting about you should learn how to make money instead of losing or something like that in one of the other videos. People were ignorant. I'm sure he didn't watch the whole video of me explaining everything, and maybe he'll see this one today, maybe not. I really don't know who it is. If you know who you are, you can suck some ass cheeks. But all right, so QUBT was a trade of today. So I had this on watch from yesterday due to its pretty big spike coming up from the dollar area all the way up into the threes yesterday, pretty much topping out, and then in after hours kind of continued the run. This morning it gapped up a little bit up into the 430s. So when I woke up this morning and I saw it around this area right here, I was already looking at it to potentially get into a trade, kind of playing that breakout on the daily chart and just a continuation of the run. So I have the daily chart up right here. This is yesterday's move. It went from being again in the low to mid dollars to the mid threes. So the plan was to play the breakout above that 340 level. So we get back into today's chart. Right at market and pre-market hours, actually, when it came down here to the 330s, 340s, I actually started scaling in, getting into my position. Originally, my thought was, okay, this is around the high of the day from yesterday, so this is obviously a significant level as a support, meaning that right there the price should, in an ideal world, hold. Because you have a lot of volume from yesterday. This thing traded a lot of volume yesterday, and I think it traded even more today. Ended up trading more today. So I started building into my position. This move right here, right into the open, up into the high threes, kind of like confirmed the strength that we had on the stock. And then market opened, and it was kind of just chopping around for a few minutes before it kind of like started slamming down. I actually started adding to my position here, moving my risk up. Originally, I was trying to risk around $100, so I was planning accordingly with my risk, and it was just kind of chopping around again. And right around this area in the 320s, my risk was actually mentally right here in the 330s. Being that I pretty much set a low of the day in this candle right here, so I thought, okay, now that becomes our significant level for today. Right there, it's also a little bit under the high of the day from yesterday, so that kind of gave it some wiggle room if it was actually going to work out. And right here, it ended up coming down to the 320s. So I had a stop loss around the 329 area. Just, in case this thing kind of slammed down, I wouldn't lose a lot more than I was planning to do so. But kind of luckily, I removed that stop loss because I wanted to give it a little bit more wiggle room and actually increase my risk to anywhere between $150 to $200 for the trade, because the goal from the start was to play this all the way up into this 430s level that it had made in pre-market hours. So the risk to reward was there. It was like a 3 to 1 ratio. So it did exactly that. It came down to the 30s and actually cracked down to around 324, 325 level, and it bounced right back. As soon as it recovered that level, that gave me a lot more confidence in the trade. Around here, I was getting a little nervous, because I was not nervous, but it was just like, well, this thing's about to, I was ready to press the trigger and get out of the stock if it just kept kind of plummeting right here in the 320s. But nope, it right away recovered its price. So I didn't execute any sells, and pretty much from there, the trade was a big part of me just sitting on my hands and watching it play out, because as you can see right here, this is Eastern time, so it's around 7 in the morning here in California. It went all the way up to $4. I actually added around this area and got a full position of 1,200 shares. So I had 1,200 shares, a little bit over $4,000 in the stock, and pretty much upped my risk. I had 1,200 shares at a 371 average. So 371 would be around this area right here as an average, and I wanted to risk around $200, so I was risking out the 350s. I didn't want to risk the low of the day anymore, because that was going to be significant if I lose 50 cents on 1,200 shares. It's pretty significant already, and I absolutely did not want to do that. So I upped my risk, especially when it came down to these levels right here in the 350s, in the mid 350s. I kind of made that my absolute largest risk level. So it was kind of just bouncing around, consolidating throughout the day. It came down to these levels and touched them a couple of times right here in the 350s. I was close to exiting the position, because again, I didn't want to lose more money than I was planning to do so, and it ended up holding the price. It held the price in the mid 350s, and for hours it just kind of just consolidated. And then later in the day, around 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 10 a.m. Pacific time, this thing started kind of working out. So it broke, kind of was scraping the $4 level right here, tried to reject. This quick recovery is a good signal that the buying is strong. You also have shorts that are covering their position. They're fighting the stock for it to come down, and they end up, essentially you could say, losing the fight. They have to cover and get out of their position. So boom, this thing just kind of had a good 30 minutes of uptrend. My goal was to get up into this level, into the 430s, and maybe give it a little bit of more space after that to see if the breakout actually worked out. But so I ended up in this spike right here in this area in the low and mid 20s. I actually started selling around half of my position, just to make sure that this thing didn't do some funky action when it comes up to this level and it rejects, and then boom, it just ends up giving back all the price that it gained. So as soon as it broke out of the 430s, it was just kind of playing around here in the 40s, and I was slowly scaling out of my position. I had my highest sells up here in the low 460s and in the 50s, so which ended up being the top of the stock. I was fully out around this area right here before I had this big this candle right here, this big sell-off candle. So I ended up getting out with an average of $4.40, taking those 1,200 shares from $3.70, making a little bit over 70 cents per share, resulting in that $814 gain from this trade. So I was around 18% on the position. Solid trade. This exactly right here is what I consider an ideal one setup with the breakouts. 2, my risk level, the way that I played it out. and just essentially the way that I scaled in and out of the trade. Absolute, like, overall, I would give this like a B plus in terms of my trading, how I would qualify it. Not only because I made money on it, because of the plan that I had on it, and just kind of like those smart sells that I had in this level. I could have got a little bit, greedy or ambitious, whatever you want to call it, and be like, no, well, this thing just broke out at 430, so it should go up into like $5. And then I would have waited into that. I'd probably still be in this position right here, feeling like I'm gambling to see if it's going to do that tomorrow or not, which it could. This thing can very easily tomorrow gap up or, stay around this area and go up into $5. Or it can eat shit and gap down tomorrow, and then just, the rest is history. I didn't want to find that out. My goal was to sell in the 430s. Ended up selling with the 440 average, which is even better than, what the plan was originally. It was a solid gain, and I will move forward. I'm just here to take little pieces of these moves. I don't want the whole cake, because trying to get the whole cake, you're going to get a stomach ache. So yeah, that was pretty much the trade for today, making up those losses from the past 2 days. Again, if you saw those videos, you would see that I lost pretty much like $400 on Tuesday, and then yesterday, Wednesday. And that was, within like 5 or 6 different trades in which I lost that quantity. And right now in just one trade, I make all that back. So it kind of just shows you also that like ratio of win to loss, and how your win ratio doesn't have to be very big for you to actually be profitable. It's pretty unfortunate that I had those red trades the past 2 days, because obviously now, I just brought my account back to break even within these 3 days, even though I had a pretty significant gain on this trade. But again, that's the game. This moving forward, makes me feel more comfortable, more confident approaching the market. And again, if you see yesterday's video, you will hear me explaining that throughout the video, of how I wanted to be very careful and very meticulous with the trades that I take moving forward. Because if I would have had another red day today, I feel like that would have made me a little gun shy for the next few trading days, being that, you kind of have your confidence a little like, take a little confidence hit. But I'm glad that, I was very in the zone for this trade. I knew what I was looking for. Again, I had a plan. I executed the plan. It worked out, and we only have tomorrow to look forward to now, and continue to do the same thing. Just being very, very careful of what I get into, making sure that I have a solid plan and that I have a good risk to reward level if I'm getting into a trade. That being said, we'll go into tomorrow's watch list. So right now I'm currently watching BTCT. This stock has been running the past few days. Today it actually went up into, it gapped up into like around the $28, $29 level in pre-market hours. And then at open, this thing is already pretty extended. I mean, this is coming up from the like $2 area all the way up into the high 20s, almost hitting $30. So right here, it's almost inevitable for this thing to have some type of, for it to return some of those gains. I think right here, this stock is now, I'm expecting this to continue coming down in price. Reason as to why I want to keep it in watch, because ideally this comes down for a day or two, and it comes down into these levels, to like the $8 to $10 area, and then we play a bounce on it up until, I don't know, like the $15 area. But we'll see. Again, we always want to listen to and watch for the price action, but I think in an ideal world, this is exactly what would happen tomorrow. We'll just continue to give profits depending on how quick that happens. We can wait another day for it to continue to do the same thing, and for it to finally have a bounce, because that's what happens with these. You have a lot of people who are shorting this, wanting it to come all the way down, and once it gets to a certain level, those shorts start taking their profits, start covering their positions. People are looking to dip by this, and even insiders in the company, whatever it may be. and you'll have some type of bounce. So BTCT is still on watch. We also have UAVS. So UAVS kind of popped off today. I'm kind of watching this for something similar to QUBT, where it had a nice spike yesterday, kind of gapped up and then continued its run. So for UAVS, I'm kind of watching it for a similar pattern, where today went up into almost $5, came down a little bit. Ideally right here, this tomorrow there gaps up a little bit or holds this price, and then we'll see if that gives us a play. A few other stocks that I have on watch, these are kind of more on the back side, or kind of like on the back burner. MVST, if it holds this this price right here in the 70s and ideally breaks out of this, like gets into the 90-cent area, then we have a play for essentially what would be a breakout, a third day surge, one of those patterns that I like to play. So we'll continue to watch that as well. These other ones, BTCS is kind of following BTCT. I don't have a plan on it yet. I think these four would be my main watches, and we'll go from there. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm glad I got to get this trade in on QUBT, so you can also see, what the upside on trading looks like, making $800 in a day, although I lost $400 in the past 2 days. But again, part of the game. That's what we're here for, and we'll continue to show up every day. But alrighty, y'all. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.